Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. Today, our guest is Rajat Soni. He's a teen life and parenting coach. Rajat has a twofold mission when it comes to life coaching. The first one is to enable teens to become resilient young adults to bounce forward into a successful and happy life. And the second is to help adults create a space for creative and harmonious communication with their teenagers. He's the author of the award winning book Unjudge Your Teenager, which is a breakthrough book for parent teen relationships. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Tagore Commemorative Award. Rajat is a certified coach from the International Coach Federation and an NLP and EFT practitioner. He is a certified positive discipline parent educator from US. He has been working with teenagers and families globally through personal coaching and group programs for teens and parents. And we are very fortunate to have him with us today. Today, we'll be looking at, Rajat will be speaking to us about how we can start the new year on a positive note, both for children and parents. So, without any further ado, I'm going to welcome Rajat to the session. Hello, hi, welcome, sir.
Hi, Vani. Firstly, thanks for an amazing introduction. And yeah, it's a new year, and new year means new beginnings, new opportunities. It's a year for new opportunities for both parents and children. And from what we've seen the last 2 years, the way things have been, seen the ups and downs with the COVID being there, and now again, we're expecting a third wave and how things have been. But to start it on a positive note, as you said, the one word I will use for parents and children, in fact, for families, is positive connection. It's the connection that the parents share with their children, with their teenagers. And if that is something that can be worked on, because it's something that we see a lot of families living together alone. It's like, you're there, but you're not sitting together for dinners, even though you're all home. So yeah, that would be my thing for this year, is positive connection.
That is so beautifully put, and I love how you said how families live together, but they're alone, and connection is so important. Rajat, if you could tell us, what are some daily practices or that families can do to, build that connection or to stay usher in positivity into their lives? If you have any tips that parents can, use.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I believe I was speaking to, I think this has been last 2 years, I have had the most intense conversations with families, more than only teenagers or only parents. It's been getting those families together and bonded. So I think the first thing, if I say it, would be to build exclusive time. I mean, over the day, there is a lot we are doing. Whether you're a homemaker, whether you're a working professional, whether both the parents are working professionals. And honestly, with work from home, the work has increased for the working professionals, since everything is online. So it's about building exclusive time where you are not, where there are no gadgets, where there are no laptops, no mobile phones, but the only thing that you have between you and your child is a non-judgmental mindset. And where you just listen to your child. We always say it's always connection before correction. When you're always, you would be always correcting your child on things. But, so it's the time to just do things that they like. Let the children take that lead. So it's about building exclusive time. Then it's about, I would say, unjudging yourself. And it's more about where there are so many impressions that are created over the day. There are so many beliefs that have been, the layers that have been built over the years in our mind. So whenever you're going to speak or interact with our child, we have to clear our mind of all those beliefs, all those impressions, and then activate our five senses. Because we are right now competing with the digital world where there is so much action, so much engagement. And, so we have to have our five senses activated and then speak to our child because that's when our child will engage with us. Uh, the third would be, as the title of my book also goes, it's Unjudge Your Teenager, Unjudge Your Child, which is basically about one of the words which I always use is empathy. Uh, Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a family, and I shared this feedback with the father. So it was the parents and the child who was there in the conversation, and the child was trying to speak up, and she was sharing her thoughts, and uh, the father was kind of taking it a little personally. So he was not letting her finish, and he was saying that, "Do you think I'm not a good dad? Do you think that's happening over there?" So before the child could finish, there were a lot of advices, a lot of judgments coming in over there. So just listen to your child, what he or she is trying to say, connect to their feelings, connect to their emotions. In fact, even digital, if the digital is a concern for children today, the only way is conversation and rapport, if you can ever sort that out. The fourth way would be uh, appreciation and acknowledgement. It's about genuine appreciation, like genuinely appreciating your child. For example, if a child is not doing something which you expect them to do, mostly parent and children, it's about managing expectations, right? Expectations here and there. So it's about giving that genuine appreciation to your child. If and before Again, before correcting them or saying something which is like this child shared with me the other day, that I created a painting. She's an artist, so she paints and she draws and she loves to do that. And when she showed it to her father, so her father said that this is not good and that is not good. It went like that. So he directly went into the criticism mode, which is a part of feedback. I agree. Instead, if he would have asked her, what is it that you find beautiful about this painting? What do you think you could have done better? And then seek permission. Can I share my feedback with you? It's maintaining that respect. Children want that respect, that dignity of their own. So that's when a child opens up with you. Anything happens, the first person they will come to is you then, and not anybody else. I mean, over the last 2 years, we've seen so much happening, so much things happening. And finally, the fifth thing, which I would say for positive connection, is this came from one of my students. That's where I had put this point. This is actually a part of one of my articles, and it's also in the book. Respect the closed door policy. Happening a lot nowadays also, where a child would say, not lock the door, but he could close the door and just be inside. So give it some time. If it is, because the child is also trying to process, figure out a lot of things. These days in online classes, especially, you get such different answers from children, that why they're not focusing on the online classes, why their attention is going to YouTube, why half of them are sleeping, how they are managing those videos and non-videos on the calls. So it's about respecting that policy and then asking them that I feel a little worried about it. So I want to know what's really going on. You're respecting their privacy, respecting that space. Of course, you also set certain boundaries, but then it's also about respecting this space. So I would say that these are the 5 things that one probably can do to maintain that positive connection. And I'm sure a lot of games also the parents have played over these last 2 years to get more connected with their children.
Yeah, I mean, those are really beautifully put. You've taken such beautiful points about parent-child connection, and I think, yeah, that is just great. So I just want to ask you about. You mentioned the closed door policy, and that is something we often hear about from parents as well. Is how do you balance it? On the one hand, you want to protect your child, you want to know what he's up to, and take care of him so that nothing bad happens to him. On the other hand, you also do want to give them their space. So it's a little bit of a tricky space, especially with teenagers, because they're so sensitive. So do you navigate those conversations? If you have any tips.
Sure. So so of course, once you've established your rapport with your child, then everything else works. If there's no connection with your child, nothing works. But as a parent, you take two roles. One is a traditional parenting role, which when we say traditional parenting, it is more authority-based parenting, more teach and tell kind of parenting, which you use to set certain boundaries with the child. That, for example, these days teenagers are going to the extent of 2 to 30 in the morning and being online in the online space. So certain boundaries set that at this time, the laptop should come to my room or things like that. So very clear boundary set. Aggression is fine. It's a natural emotion, but it should not go beyond a certain point where you're disrespecting the other person. So you set certain boundaries. And there's again a way to do that. I use a lot of methods to do that. That's where you are the parent. And then you play the role of a coach, which is by asking a lot of questions rather than just throwing things at your child. For example, instead of like this child, so one thing teenagers always say that adults don't understand us. That's one thing which comes. And there is a big reason why they don't share a lot of stuff with their parents. That is also one thing which comes. But like this one was saying the other day that my mom was asking me to shut my mobile phone and go to study while she was on her phone chatting. So you have to reflect upon yourself as a parent first. You have to model the behavior you want to see in your child, and then decide when you need to be the traditional parent and when you need to be the coach. Ideally, traditional parenting, there is no shoulds and should nots, but if we can apply it only in situations where we are setting boundaries, and also both the parents playing a role. In the Indian environment, also I've seen it in not so much I've seen it in the US market, but in the Indian environment, I see generally the mothers who play the bad cop. And father would either be the fun element, or father would be the one who would be just saying that, what happened about this? What have you decided? It will be either a very authoritative role or it'll be just a fun role. Everything is being played by the mother only in a lot of cases. So sharing the parenting, being on the same page, like a father says that, okay, an IIT is really important for you, so focus on your JEE preparation. But the mother saying, for me, you spending time with us is really important. So balancing the expectations between the parents is going to make a lot of difference. So I believe these things will come up over this.
Absolutely. Rajat, I wanted to go back to the New Year aspect of things. So it's a new year, a new beginning, and it's also the time most of us have a list of resolutions ready. Um, so I wanted to ask you, what is your take on resolutions? Should we take them, not take them? Because a lot of people now say, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, because a lot of us don't end up keeping resolutions. And especially with children, should you encourage them to take resolutions? So, what is your take on all of this?
Yeah, if we can just, I think the resolution word has been abused so much over the years that if we can just change it. In fact, I am doing a program with the school in the next week, which where we can change the word from resolutions to goals, where children
Yes.
set their own goals depending upon their age. So if it's a teenager, they can set their goals. And again, it has to be led more by the child than by you. Wherein, like this is one thing children really love when I do it with them, is I make them reflect on each area of their life. Sometimes we think that a child's life is just, studies and career, studies and career. There is so much more to their life. There is their family, their parents, how they connect with them. There is their friendships, which matter a lot. And these days, it's mostly online friendships on Discord, so it's a very different world now. So friendships are really important to them. I see a lot of relationships coming up in this time where, especially in the 16 to 17, 18-year-old bracket, where they're getting into relationships in the online world because they're feeling a little lonely because they can't go out much. So that's also happening a lot over here. So they reflect upon each area of their life, starting with family, friends, career, academics, of course. Also areas like their health and fitness. That's one area which has been majorly affected, where we see children getting too much into their comfort zone, where they don't even want to, just wake up from their bed also and do something. They want to just be on their laptop and be absolutely there. So they set their goals themselves, that this is, and then they rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10, that right now, on the basis of how happy they are with each area. And children share it. I mean, as much as we say children are very happy in those areas, no, they will share it. And they share that, okay, it's a 4 on 10 right now, and I want to take it to a 7 on 10, not necessarily to a 10, to a 7. If it goes, it's good enough for me. So they set their own goals. And what will it take to go from 4 to 7? Is it overcoming procrastination? Is it, what do you want to do? So if you set SMART goals, a lingo we use a lot, a language, a word we use a lot in the corporate world, SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound. Those goals or resolutions are more prone to getting executed, and rather than just the simple resolution, okay, I will lose this much weight and I will do this and do that. So there is more chances or higher probability of that getting implemented.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take on resolutions. And you're right, we definitely abuse the word resolutions so much. But
Yeah.
it's very interesting that you say, let children take the lead, because that is something we often don't do, I think, when it comes to things like this. So that's really interesting. So Rajat, we also wanted to ask you, because it's a new year and we're talking about, starting it on a positive note. So how do you sort of inculcate the value of positivity in children? How do you help them maybe be resilient and look at the brighter side of things, and those values? What can we do to inculcate these values in children?
Okay, there are a lot of things that can be done, but if I share a few, see, one is what children feel is that, especially this has happened a lot in the last 2 years, where they kind of, give up, or they feel we cannot rise from this, or what do we do for it? First and foremost is helping them realize their amazing qualities. But again, it needs to come from them rather than coming from us. So you ask them, what is it the last time you did? Like, you ask the child to share a success story of theirs. It could be anything. I mean, there is so much coding happening nowadays that even if they've built some app on a coding app when in a class, they felt really proud about it. It could be the first time they spoke in front of a number of people, they felt really proud about it. Ask them to share a success story. Then ask them, what is it that they did to achieve it? What were the amazing qualities in them that made them achieve success in that? They will come up with some words. They come up with some, but nowadays you're used to listening so much not so good stuff about you that some children don't even start. Some are like 2 or 3, but then as you talk to them, they come up with things, that what is it good about me? And then then you ask them, okay, what did you not do to achieve it? I did not procrastinate. I did not delay it. I did not think about what other people will think if I do this. A lot of things come up in that process. And then once you do this, the children realize, okay, fine. So this is my success strategy. This is what works for me. And this is what gets me back into action. What was like, I do this, I said, okay, what's your yes move? What is your move, which when you have achieved something, how do you feel about it? Some will say yeah, some will be like yeah, it's just, and that becomes like their success strategy. And they know that if I can do it here, I can implement it in any other area of my life. And then they rise up from there. So that's one of the ways in which children can get back and bounce back from any of the things that they've been feeling a little low about.
That's really interesting and a great exercise, I think, to get children look at values they like about themselves. Yeah, that sounds really wonderful. So I also want to ask you the same question for parents, because as we start the new year, there is so much of uncertainty. There is the Omicron variant that's coming back. A lot of us were planning on traveling and doing a lot of things, and now things are again looking difficult. And it has been a hard 2 years for everyone. So how do you sort of stay positive and keep going?
Uh, we put so many things into our mind, and there are so many things that occupy our mind space. What we don't do is we don't write them down. Just simple start write. We used to have diaries. We used to write in, back then. Once we write down how we are feeling, especially getting in touch with your feelings. Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling annoyed? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling what is, enhance your feelings vocabulary? It's huge. It's rather than just good or bad, it's huge. Write down those feelings. Or else, as simple, you can start. I generally share a lot of thought sheets with both children and parents, wherein they regularly write down what is it that you liked about the day today? How did it make you feel? What did you not like about the day today? How did it make you feel? Out of that, what is in your control and what is out of your control? Because most of the times our mind is occupied with things that are not even in our control. Omicron, what's happening outside is not in our control. We wearing our mask and accepting the situation is in our control. So what is in your control, what is not in your control? And then finally, writing the opposite of the negative thoughts. The reverse mechanism works great. If you are thinking negative, write positive. So that changes. It happens gradually. Nothing happens overnight. It happens gradually. Gradually your mind, because see, mind, as you heard, is a very humble servant. The more you train it in a way, it's been trained to think negative. You can train it to think positive. But can we always be positive? No, that's not something which is very realistic, but we can tune ourselves at that time, making the triggers our anchors. That sounds very technical, but making those triggers, the triggers that make us go down, the same triggers can make us go up also. It's the way we train our mind. So it's all about that. Just start writing down. Writing down really works. With kids, it's a task, but you can make them do it. But parents can definitely do it.
That's a really great tip. I think, writing down how you feel. Something all of us should be doing, I guess. Yes. So Rajat, I also wanted to ask you about. You talk a lot about creating an environment for where children can grow and flourish. So, what are a few things parents can do to sort of create a positive environment at home to that sort of encourages children's creativity and helps them flourish? So, what are a few things we can do?
Okay, yeah. So first thing is, of course, creating a safe space where the children can connect with you and they can share their thoughts with you so that they're not taking it all over there. The other is, I always say there should be like a creative space in the house. That's something which children, like one of my students, she's really explored her singing over the last. She used to love singing, and she wants to take that as a profession going forward. So she said that I got that time now to do it because we're not going to school, we're at home. So having a creative corner in the house where all the things that your child likes are there, like the canvas is there if she likes to draw, or if they like to play something, the instruments are there. Whatever they like offline, more offline, because anyways there's too much online happening. So the child knows that if I'm feeling bored, I can go here also. And then the children explore themselves more, and we know how art and all these things make your mind fresh rather than anything else. So that is great. One more thing which has really worked, though that is more from the families which has come rather than from me, is I think a lot of families have been doing yoga. And even the little ones, if you see, not the teenagers or the little ones, you see the 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds also just doing their yoga with the parents and stuff. So I think that's also a good thing to do for some, but that's not something I'm advising, but that's something that I've heard from the parents. So that's something that's worked for them. Yeah, so creating a safe space for communication and having a creative corner in the house. And also one more thing, where I said about the exclusive time. So having that we time together, uh, if possible, every day for 30 minutes, otherwise definitely over the weekends. Spend that time together where you are talking to each other rather than watching something or anything else. Talk to each other, talk about, share your stories when you were children. The parents can share their own stories. You can have we used to have those traditional photo albums in the cupboards, take them out, just uh, make dinner special at the house, make it like a special evening where the children feel attracted towards interacting with you. I think that creates a lot of positive space in the house. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, Rajat, I think we've covered all the questions that we had for you. But before we end the session, if you have anything to say to parents and families watching the session, the new year and everything, if you have a message for
Yeah,
them.
I just want to say to them that you guys are awesome, and you're doing great. Just don't overthink, and whatever is there, just write it down and get sorted with it. What happens in the day, just don't take it to the next day. Just clear your thoughts and just be happy that way. Yeah. It's
That's
all
wonderful.
okay.
It's all okay. That's a great note to end the session, I think. So thank you so much for joining us, Rajat, and sharing your inputs and insights. And I'm sure everyone watching will have something to take away from the session. So we are really grateful that we could have you here. So thank you. And to everyone watching, thanks for joining in. And we have sessions with experts every Friday. So please do tune in next week as well. We'll see you next time. Thank you and have a good evening.